Hello and welcome to another episode of Getting Hammered. I'm your host, Mary Catherine Ham. I'm here with my co-host, Vic Mattis of the Washington Free Beacon. We're your morning show for any hour, and we are getting real close to this election. 50-something days right now. Woo! It is going to fly by. It's going to fly by. As soon as you hit Labor Day, time starts flying. Because those kids are in school. You got a lot going on. So here we go. But time does not fly so fast past the debate that we can't do a little bit more recap, because I feel like we need to assess some things in the fallout that we didn't get to in the immediate aftermath. But before we get to all that, I also want to talk a little bit about Patrick Mahomes, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, the pop cultural trinity of our time. But before we get to all that, how are you doing, Vic?
Hello, Mary Catherine. Speaking of Taylor Swift, we were talking just before the show of our opening chit chat, and this is actually one where I think we're going to talk about the same thing, which is the the MTV Video Music Awards.
I mean, right in our demo.
Yes,
squarely
okay.
in the demo.
Yes, my first thought was I didn't know that MTV was still around. I don't imagine that if you went to MTV right now, they're playing music videos on a loop.
No.
And it's all just reality TV shows. So I was in one room, my daughter, who is in high school, very excited.
Okay.
Because she wants to see her favorite acts. Are they going to be there? Is Taylor Swift going to perform? This was a big thing. What is she wearing as symbolic of what is the next,
I'm a little surprised.
The colors. It's all about the colors. There's a secret message.
There's a code breaker.
Yes,
I mean, it's
yes,
like
yes,
it's like little Orphan Annie in the
yeah. Right. Drink your Ovaltine.
A decoder. Drink your Ovaltine.
That's right.
I'm surprised that the MTV VMAs carry this much cachet at this point.
I am surprised. It looked fairly crowded. It is not. Okay, first of all, for our listeners, I was not watching it with my daughter, and my wife Kate, of course, was there watching as well and deciding what is appropriate and not. And there was a lot that was inappropriate, and yet we watched anyway. No, but I was in the other room, and every now and then I'd hear various exclamations and comments, and I'd run in because I wanted to see what was all the hubbub in the acts. Okay, so let me just say this. As you know, and listeners to when I was on the Sub-Beacon, I'm not really big on, Asian women are not my thing, as we talked about this before. Yeah, and this is an early start to talk about this kind of a subject on the show. Good morning. But they had two K-pop acts, right?
Okay.
Well, one was K-pop. It was Le Seraphim. And then the other one was Lisa from Blackpink. Not that I follow K-pop at all. K-pop women's groups.
Right.
I want to be very clear about this. So not
Sometimes it's hard to tell.
BTS. Yes. Well, very pretty.
My girls like BTS, and
they're pretty.
Lovely looking young men.
I come over there to watch, and I'm quite intrigued. I find them very alluring. And my understanding, yes, that's right, Mary Catherine. Don't spill don't choke on your coffee.
It's such an elegant word.
Intrigued. Yeah, I am. And alluring. I think they're great in every way. And I just found myself sort of hypnotized by them. Number one. Number two, they clearly work very hard. And as my daughter explained, their exercise, dance, choreography regimen is extremely intense.
Oh.
And it is similar to sort of these factory-made bands in the United States. This is as if I'm telling something new to our listeners, but maybe people might.
Hey, there are probably a lot of our listeners who have kids who are into K-pop who are a little confused about this.
K-pop is Korean pop, and I find it very interesting that there's no J-pop. It's K-pop. Like, this has come out of Korea suddenly.
Right.
And it's a huge industry. And so they train them, and sometimes they, much like the replacement system in our military, you're out, you're in, they just put in new people, they fill in the same place.
That was Menudo.
Yeah.
Menudo was like
with
that.
Ricky Martin.
They had to just put new
bring
kids
in new
there.
People. It's the same band, but it's like, the ship of Theseus. Is it really the same? Everybody's been replaced, all the wood planks have been replaced. So these are not wood planks.
An unexpectedly erudite pull there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm mixing everything in this morning. It's been one of those weeks. So, but the other thing is, Mary Catherine, they take very good care of their skin, don't they? They're big into skincare.
Oh, yeah, huge.
Yeah,
huge.
The men too, apparently. But I found that. So I found the K-pop acts to be wonderful. That was the first thing. The second thing, Sabrina Carpenter, who is apparently a big deal.
Yes.
Sung Espresso. She sang a medley She's very compact. You know,
she?
I think she was
She's a
wearing
teeny
heels, but
lady?
even with the heels, and I guess my understanding, she is also a Disney export as well, alumna,
Okay.
right? And she did Adventures in Babysitting, the show, not the great movie with Elizabeth Shue.
Sabrina Carpenter is one of those names that I keep thinking, I gotta Google and get to the bottom of this because I just have a vague understanding of who she is.
we follow each other on Twitter, but it turned out to be Amanda Carpenter. And then lastly, so she was
Any following you do of Sabrina Carpenter definitely going to be one-sided.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. There's no confirming or denying whether that is actually the case now. Okay, and then finally, so there was no Taylor Swift performance, but Katy Perry performed, and she was introduced by her partner Orlando Bloom.
Oh.
My daughter couldn't believe that was Legolas from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So he's
is
up
he still
there.
hot or is he? I
will
you
let
can give
Kate
an opinion.
speak for me. Kate
come
speaks.
on. Okay, what did Kate say?
Yes.
Okay.
he looks good.
I will
and
trust
I think
her.
that was good with maybe 3 or 4, not like 5 O's, but like 3 O's. Like he looks good.
Okay.
And I will have to say he did look good. I mean, obviously a few more wrinkles. Who among us? Great hair. I will say great hair. So he must be on the Nutrafol or something. Okay. So that was my thought. But Katy Perry, a little bit wild. Mm-hmm. Like the outfits. And there was a song she did in a dance number with a female dancer that was extremely interconnected, shall we say. And I just knew this because Kate was like, okay, all right. And then I had to immediately run over.
Then you had to run into the room.
Let me decide on this one. Hold on. Wait. Okay.
Understood.
Did you watch any of it? Or
I didn't watch any of it, but it did come across my radar, which I was a little surprised by. Again, because I assume that MTV doesn't have the kind of cultural pull that it used to.
Yeah,
There's no TRL. Nobody needs to watch
that. Is that right? There's not even that. Carson Daly isn't still on?
They might have to. Oh, Carson Daly has aged with the rest of us, and he is now an actual morning show host at like Today or whatever, right? Okay. Anyway, no. There might be a TRL, but like who's watching that? Anyway. Kids don't need that. They got the YouTubes. They don't need that. Yeah. But one thing I did like about these VMAs is the illustration of how dependent these kids today are on our generation, particularly mine, in that Megan Thee Stallion showed up in an homage to Britney Spears's snake
the snake
dance with for I'm a Slave for You from the 2001 VMAs.
2001.
Yep. And Megan looked fantastic. And there's a little clip of her reacting to her cosplay, which is funny.
Okay. Stop the music. I'm just playing. Come get this snake. I don't know this snake. This snake don't know me. Oh, my God. I tried to hold it down for Brittany. All right.
And it made me think, because it's September, it made me think, what was the date of the VMAs in 2001?
Oh, good question.
And I looked it up. It was September 6th, 2001. So very close to the world changing as we know it.
A different time.
This is such a silly point. We made serious points yesterday about September 11th. Yeah. And by the way, I should also recommend, if you haven't watched, there's an ESPN 30 for 30 on the guy in the red bandana. Yeah. That's worth watching, about a guy former lacrosse player who went and saved a bunch of people and lost his own life doing so. Yeah. I always recommend at least one 9/11 viewing this time of year. But a silly point. Imagine the cultural cachet you have to have as one performance. Britney Spears with that albino python doing I'm a Slave for You existed past September 11th, 2001, did not get obscured from all time by that news event, and we still talk about it and reference it today.
Right.
I find that sort of astonishing.
The cultural resonance you're talking about. Yes, because, prior to September 11, 2001, the other big story was Anne Heche being crazy. May she rest in peace.
And Gary Condit.
And Gary Condit, of course, the unsolved murder.
There were a couple things.
Solved.
Gary Condit, Anne Heche, and shark attacks summer. Those were the three things. But
this.
Albino python
She has stood.
performance has stood the test of time.
Yeah.
And here we are. Okay. I have a totally different story, but I must share.
Oh, please.
So that you parents out there can be warned and not tread where I have trod. Anyway, my youngest, so my kids have started getting out of their cribs.
The prison breakout.
I don't really mind at night. I don't really mind in the morning. At night, we admonish them, put them back in the cribs.
Yeah.
The boy, the youngest, is not really climbing out yet, although he has been able to do it once. So we're on the precipice here. Right. His sister very easily can get out whenever she wants. And does. In the morning, we just let them goof off in there because usually she climbs into his crib. They play together. Yeah. Sometimes she throws blocks at his head, but they're very light.
Plastic, not the wood blocks, obviously.
They're wood.
Oh.
Then we come in and, all the diapers are strewn everywhere, but it's fine. We can put the room back together. We get a few more minutes of sleep. Yeah. Everybody's happy. Well, that bit us in the ass because the other morning we go in and it turns out Big Sister has either handed the Desitin to her brother or applied it to her brother.
Yes.
And that's not so bad because you can just wipe off Desitin.
Uh-huh.
It's in his hair.
Oh.
Desitin, if you're not aware, is a diaper cream that is very thick and very sticky.
Yeah.
And turns everything white and smells funny. Great for diaper rash.
I have vague memories of Desitin.
If you smelled Desitin, it would take you back.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the Proust's Madeleine. Yes. Oh, I'm going back in time to it. Yes.
So I missed the initial discovery of this because I was, I believe, recording our podcast, actually.
Oh.
So I come downstairs and I see my youngest child with it looks like Doc Brown from Back to the Future. It's just like white hair, crazy in all directions. And I'm like, oh dear, what happened here? And I noticed that his sister has been bathed and presumably he was bathed, but the hair is clearly not clean.
Yeah.
And
it's sort of a new hair gel mousse.
Well, and I thought that's odd because Steve, the most competent parent, wouldn't bathe them and not take care of the hair, right? Nonetheless, Steve's gone for work. I take the baby upstairs and wash his hair. And then I realize what has happened. I get him out of the tub. It is still not clean.
Oh.
So I assume that Steve probably did it once. And then I did it once. And it's not coming out. So
is this a matter of time? Do you think it's just a matter of time?
Well, I went to Twitter. And I said, I could have just Googled it. I'm sure there are hacks out there. But I went to Twitter and I was informed that for Desitin in the hair, which is a problem that can last several days, you must do Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
Just like an Exxon Valdez duck. You gotta put the Dawn on the oil slick.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. That it seems very obvious now that you mention it because I remember somebody who had, used to do my hair back in the day, talking about stay away from the Dawn. They use that to clean off like hubcaps. I mean, it's really hardcore stuff. It's hardcore stuff.
Well,
that'll do the trick.
It molecularly messes with the sticky stuff, right? That is a scientific term, the way that I put that. But yeah, so it cuts through. But what I did, because,
you're not putting Paul Mitchell on there.
No. But what's going to happen, right, is that, of course, if you put Dawn in his hair and you're washing his hair normally, it's going to go in his eyes and all this stuff. Well, what I did is I basically made a paste of Dawn and put it all over his head before bedtime and left it for about 20, 30 minutes. So that it wouldn't drip anywhere. He touched it a couple of times, but it wasn't in danger of hurting him.
Is Dawn the shampoo that is that doesn't sting the eyes for kids?
No, this is what I'm saying. So this is Dawn dishwashing liquid.
Oh,
so it will hurt his eyes.
When you say Dawn, I was thinking of
Dove.
There's like a shampoo that people that is similar to Dawn for like babies. So it's not.
No. I was already used that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So this is just dishwashing liquid. So I took it from the sink and just made it into a paste for his head, as if he were wearing a little soapy wig, and left it for 20 minutes and took him upstairs and rinsed his head. At which point I discovered a hack that how have I never figured this out before? Y'all are gonna think I'm dumb because this is my fourth kid. I'm like, well, I don't want to get soap in his eyes. He complains about that anyway, even when it's tearless shampoo. I told him to look at the ceiling. I was like, look at the ceiling. Look at the ceiling. And he head straight back, rinsed it all out.
Nice.
How have I never thought of that before? It's a great game. No problems. Hope that helps you guys out if you're on your first baby. I should have figured it out before now.
Look at the ceiling.
Look at the ceiling. Point up there. He looks. Good. It's great stuff. So I rinsed it all out, and he woke up this morning. Oh, I did use a comb to get any excess out. Uh-huh. He woke up this morning with clean hair. We did it. We did it, folks.
Congratulations. And now I'm thinking to myself, what is the shampoo I'm picturing now? And it's golden. It's a golden liquid for
Johnson
kids.
& Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson. Yeah. And that's supposed to be...
That's what I used the first time.
Yeah. Oh,
that
didn't do it.
That
so
didn't
people
do
say that does some serious cleaning, but
no, not for this.
No, the Dawn will do it. Okay, now we're on the same page.
All right. So anyway, he's clean now. Thank you very much.
Okay.
We did it. All right. Should we talk about politics?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So I want to do a little debate revisiting since I'm probably only going to have one of them, right?
Yes. Maybe.
There was some buzz yesterday of Trump's team at some point saying maybe I'd do
rematch.
Another one.
They wouldn't say rematch, but yes, that's what it would be.
She sounds like preliminarily she's kind of into the idea of doing one, but
Brian Fallon, as you know, tweeted out that was fun. Let's do it again. So that's an invitation.
I just don't believe that's coming together. Do you believe that's coming together in the time frame that we have?
Well, I know in the time frame that we have, I think the only way they would the Trump campaign would agree to a third debate for him, second for her, would be on Fox.
Yeah,
and I think is there going, but
he
short
said,
of that, no.
He said on Fox, any Fox debate should not be Brett and Martha, which is who it should be. He requested primetime hosts, which would obviously be more.
What do you mean, like Jesse Waters?
Yes.
Sean? So Laura Ingraham?
So I think...
Oh, she would know she's not going to agree to
Kamala's
that.
not agreeing to that.
Oh, no. What?
Although, can I say once again that Sean Hannity questioning J.D. Vance on several occasions has been much harder on J.D. Vance than any of the mainstream reporters who have any access to Kamala or Walz have been on them.
Is there going to be, speaking of J.D. Vance, a vice presidential debate? Is there a date agreed to that?
I don't know. I kind of hope there is.
He's been J.D. Vance, he's very well spoken on the spot. He was talking to Caitlin Collins after the debate. I must have been in the spin room talking about the Ohio, Springfield, Ohio, the allegations of Haitians eating the pets.
Right.
And he handled it, I thought, very well. He remained calm. Look, again, why would he be involved in this? Because he's a senator from Ohio.
He's getting reports from constituents, right?
I mean, he has an offer. They would turn to him, obviously.
It looks like USA Today headline that it has been confirmed October 1st, as announced by the CBS network.
Okay.
So,
and by then, I think voting will have already been completed in Pennsylvania. Great.
They're
Congratulations.
Done. Nora O'Donnell, moderator, CBS News foreign affairs correspondent Margaret Brennan. She is very, very biased. You know what? In a competition between David Muir and Margaret Brennan, it's going to be stiff competition.
Why not? You just throw Joy Reid in there.
Can I recommend to you guys, if you're looking for more debate coverage, again, because this is likely the only one we're going to have, go and listen to Ruthless podcast this week and their dissection of the moderating.
Oh.
Because, wow.
Oh, I'm sure.
I knew it was tilted while I was watching it, but actually incredible.
When they go back.
When you really look at it, Trump is basically forced to be a moderator.
Yeah.
Asking her follow-up questions. She's just kind of like a prop. They just sort of let her say her thing every now and then pivot back to his liabilities.
Right.
And every time they ask him about his liabilities, they pivot back to her and say, well, what do you think about how bad he is?
I mean, and they literally would, the questions were literally at some points from David Muir, Vice President, your thoughts?
No. And then the closing, thank you, Madam Vice President.
Right.
I mean, it was remarkable.
Come on.
I stand by my assessment that had he reverse tomahawk dunked on that first question, which is what he should have been able to do, he would have put away the whole night, and he might have put away the election, because that's the whole question.
Right.
So I stand by that, but I was slightly more sympathetic after I heard the dissection of the moderating.
No, so I mean, again, Trump is his own worst enemy, but in addition to that, having to do the follow-ups and fact check her and fact check the quote-unquote fact checkers.
Yes. We've been doing that.
It's a lot going on.
We've been doing that. By the way, can I bring you some reporting?
Yeah.
Our friend John McCormick notes that the cat story apparently is real and in that area, but the alleged assailant of said cat is an Ohioan, not a Haitian.
Okay.
Our other friend, Pradeep Shankar, actually called the city council in Springfield, Ohio, and found out the geese story is real and is related to the migrant community. Just to fact check both of those things. Can we just talk about the plight of the people of Springfield, Ohio, without making it this insanity?
Right.
Which, again, you have a perfect right to be mad about geese in public parks being harvested out of season, without licenses, in ways that are gruesome and happening in front of maybe your kids.
Yeah.
I think it's fine to be upset about that. On the national stage, as I said, the story of that woman talking about how she's lived in this town for 45 years and she's drowning and she just wants the city council to help her and protect her. That's the story.
Right.
That's the story.
And Mike DeWine is sending, state aid to Springfield and other assistance.
Yeah.
But he himself, the governor of Ohio, is requesting the federal government get involved in this.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming here.
Troopers and $2.5 million to the city to help deal with the influx, because again, it's a city of about 50,000. It's tens of thousands of migrants added to the population. This is tough on everyone.
Right. Now, I thought at first they were getting, for example, when I first heard these stories, that the allegations were like, nabbing the swans from the lake, or whatever. But we're talking about Canadian geese here.
And we don't like those.
No, they are an actual menace.
They're also migrants.
Illegally too. They don't belong here. The Canadian geese
have no protected status.
The mess that they make.
Don't they?
In lakes,
don't the Canadians
ponds, they polluted them. They're polluting it. It's very dangerous. They need. Well, thank you, Haitian immigrants. That's. But I mean, no. Honestly, the Canadian geese is. I mean, this is why people go shooting geese, and there's the.
Geese are dumb.
Season.
Geese are dumb. Yeah, I
also,
agree.
but they can hiss at you, and go after you, and it's kind of scary.
Geese are
I got hissed at.
To me, geese are the least impressive large bird. Like if I saw an emu or an ostrich, an eagle, a hawk, keep naming them. Any large bird, an owl,
a
peacock. Turkey, a peacock. I'm impressed. Goose, trash.
Yeah.
Trash.
Well, yeah, no, the gray colors, it's faded, but also again dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
They do fly in that V, which is cool.
They do.
Yeah.
As long as they're not in my backyard. The geese. That's why I say the geese. I'm NIMBY for the geese. Like I see them going, I say keep on going, just keep on going south.
Anyway, I'm glad we've gotten to the bottom.
Yeah, I'm glad. We took a very mature approach to this very serious problem. So it started off serious, but again, listeners have to know this is like the end of the week, and this is how we get on the show. This
is what you've signed up for on this podcast.
You agreed to this.
Right. Can I do a little recap with none other than Jake Tapper?
Okay.
Who points out that Kamala didn't really answer questions? Here we go.
Ooh.
This is about a minute clip.
Vice President Harris began the debate by punting the first question on the economy.
Do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
It went on from there. Despite the economy being the #1 issue facing the country, the sitting vice president generally reverted to talking points about a few of her policy proposals. Even Harris allies today are saying that she needs to talk more about what she will do for Americans if elected. Senator Bernie Sanders will be here in a second to talk about more about the need for her to fill in some of those blanks. On the border, another vulnerable issue for Harris, she also dodged.
Would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
Okay, that wasn't the question. When asked how she would break through the Israel-Hamas war stalemate, Harris said this.
We need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
Okay, but again, how?
Thank you, Jake.
That's like her solution, by the way, to that and that last response to the crisis in the Middle East is like me saying, we need to be able to drink as much as we can, have as much shellfish as we can, and red meat, and not get gout at the same time. That's what we need.
And we're going to work around the clock on that.
Yes.
Around the clock. I know. I like the idea that like we're just going to work really hard on that.
Yeah.
You're in office now. You could be working plenty hard on it at the moment, but you're not. And the point is, and again, and listening to the dissection of the entire debate, I do not think she directly answered one question. And she was, importantly, she was never asked to directly answer one question, except by Trump, who, among other moments that were good for him, said, well, they asked you about restrictions. What do you think? 7th, 8th, 9th month? Where should those be? Right? Speaking of which, a lot of reporters are finding out that there's a lot of facts they don't know.
Oh, right.
In the aftermath of this debate, including the idea that, a little content warning on this because we're going to get into late-term abortion very quickly, but the idea that there are places that allow abortion for not medically required reasons or any of the exceptions up until birth is foreign to people. And it's foreign to reporters, except for those who probably know it but don't want to tell the truth because it's uncomfortable to talk about the truth. But Emma Camp of Reason magazine reminds us that 9 states in D.C. place no gestational limit on abortion. There are clinics in D.C. that do this. The Atlantic interviewed a doctor who performs 32-week plus abortions. And about half of his patients have healthy babies.
Yeah.
Healthy babies at 32 weeks. And Billy Binion, also of Reason, pointed out that when he found out Colorado essentially permits abortions up until someone's water breaks, his reaction was, that can't be right. But it is correct. And most reporters will never utter the truth of this, or as I said, don't know the truth of this, because some of the problem with the conformist community in journalism is that knowing icky facts makes you one of the bad people. So if you know something like this and you state the truth, it's like, whoa, what are you, hanging out with right-wingers that you know about late-term abortion?
Yeah, that's creepy stuff. That is creepy that you know it, not the actual act.
Well, and this, I'm glad you said that, Vic.
Okay.
Because this is my contention about a lot of issues, which is, this is the Chappaquiddick problem. When you explain Chappaquiddick and Ted Kennedy's leaving to die of his female companion on that night, drowning in a car while he saved his political butt and called his family and sat around and detoxed for hours before he let any one who could help her know about this, leading to the death of Mary Jo Kopechne. When you tell people the details of that story, they don't think they can be true because it sounds so awful.
Yeah, so awful. It's disgusting. Please.
8 and 9 month abortions are like that. If you say that to people without being very specific about which districts and which states allow this and where, if you're not deft about it, people will just go, no, that can't be true.
You know who would have rattled that statistic off is probably Ron DeSantis.
Yes, for sure.
But
I think the idea that she supports gender transitions for detained illegal immigrants with taxpayer money, another thing where most of the media went, that's just an insane thing to say. Yeah, I can't believe he said that. Turns out it's true. It also suffers from the Chappaquiddick problem, which is it does sound crazy on its face, and you sound kind of crazy when you say it unless you explain it. Right.
But we actually have it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just talking about Andrew Kaczynski, the K-File on CNN, and people scoffing and saying that's not true. And then we play you know the segment with Kaczynski on CNN, where he works with Erin Burnett, and she can't believe it. And they actually have it there because it's a questionnaire you fill out, and she filled that out.
Yeah, it's her writing.
It's her writing, and that she supports those things we're talking about, as you were saying, trans surgeries for illegal migrants, for prisoners, and I believe defunding ICE, and I think possibly also legalizing
Right.
fentanyl, heroin, hard drugs, and when that got vaguely brought up by the moderators, were discussed it, but it was really Trump who threw it out there. And when Trump threw it out there, and you see the split screen, she just looks, and he got himself so worked up, and he wanted to talk about bailing out, murderers and things.
Right.
But he's not able to actually get into the details of the Minnesota Bail Fund that she had given money to and say, please contribute to through Act Blue, et cetera. He's not able to do that. So she just shakes her head and says, what is he talking about? He's crazy.
Well, and again, that can be pretty effective if no one is bringing forth
That's right.
the truth, which the moderators should do in addition to Trump on an issue like this. Time magazine had to issue a correction. The original version of this story mischaracterized as false Donald Trump's statement accusing Kamala Harris of supporting transgender operations on illegal aliens in prison. As a presidential candidate in 2019, Harris filled out a questionnaire saying she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition treatment for detained migrants.
Right.
Ta-da!
And then Susan Glasser.
Oh,
right?
Yes. Can you remind me of her tweet real quick?
Yes, and that was in the New Yorker. And
Good
she
stuff,
talked
guys.
about the crazy things. Who would believe this? Who said, that basically that President Trump is insane. The first part she talks about is the eating the cats, and the cats and the dogs. Which again, one day that we may be be vindicated for that, and it gets verified.
It at least gets a partially true because of the geese.
But then the second part she talks about is the trans surgeries for migrants, and she's like, that's insane. She would never do that. And of course, then she gets the what do you call it? The
community notes.
The community notes on X. And then in addition to everybody, all the comments providing the clips of Andrew Cuomo on CNN talking about it. As of this recording, she and the New Yorker have yet to retract or clarify. So,
oops. Oh, our intellectual betters and our moral betters. Yeah. Lyman Stone also notes that Walz signed a law as governor eliminating any possible duty of care to an infant who survives an abortion, which is what Trump is referring to. Again, not deftly.
Right.
When he talks about Northam's quote about making an infant comfortable after surviving an abortion. This is what he's talking about. Many Democrats, including Obama, including Kamala, have not supported bills that would codify a requirement for doctors to treat a two-term baby who can survive an abortion once they are born alive. They vote against this not seldom.
No.
It happens frequently.
No.
Which suggests that it's a thing that happens.
Yeah. They can't. Yeah. They can't. They cannot give an inch. That's the problem.
No. So. And having their extremism on this issue pointed out to them, again, takes some work, but I think it's probably been a little revealing to some reporters who assume that we have sensible limitations in all states or even draconian limitations in all states. We don't. In fact, we largely are not even, we're much more liberal than the European laws.
Right. So I remember when there were big celebrations that France is codifying, the right to an abortion for women. And what is the limit? It was like 12 or 14 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And whereas we have many states now, especially post-Dobbs, that they passed their own laws, which was the whole point, that people get to decide. And these states, they're very liberal states, very liberal voters, are saying no limits. Yeah. And that's like sort of beyond the pale, obviously, for even Europeans, putting a number of these states in league with China, North Korea.
There is some continued evidence that independent voters, while watching this debate, tracked with Republicans, not with Democrats. If you look at some of the focus grouping and the dial testing, that's not a good sign for Kamala Harris, because I do not think his performance was good. I don't think he was clear. I don't think he landed a lot of punches. No. He was doing a lot of work. That is true. But he a lot of times will speak in sort of dependent clauses and parentheticals and unclear pronouns, like they did this, they did that, and it's unclear who he's talking about. He doesn't ground these stories. But I think the threat for the Kamala Harris campaign is that the debate felt really good to Democrats. The debate felt really good to Democrats.
And
because,
the media.
Yeah, but we repeat ourselves.
Yes.
Because he acted out. He did a lot of things that could remind suburban independent voters why they are suspicious of him.
That he's seemingly unfit.
Yes. However, they all know that. They know that this is his personality.
Built in.
Yes.
This is, it's like there can't be any more personal revelations that's going to make you like him or make you more disgusted by him than he already is. So
meanwhile, Kamala Harris is giving people almost nothing aside from looking like a person who can talk for the brief period of time that she had to talk during this debate when Trump wasn't talking and the moderators weren't
talking. She
talking.
was heavily coached.
Yeah. So, but she didn't give a lot of information about what she wants to do. And voters have said, undecided voters in particular, that they need to know more about her and what she wants to do. I think because the reality is that she's part of the administration and they need actual information about how she would be different. And she is not offering that, as the Jake Tapper clip makes clear. Now, moving forward, I sent you a New York Times piece this morning. A headline in the New York Times says, Harris, after a debate success, confronts a battleground game of inches. So she's off on the trail again. The subhead, her aides have new hopes of focusing the race squarely on Donald Trump's fitness for office.
So basically, the Biden playbook 2.0.
Now, if it's less apocalyptic, that's better than what Biden was doing, because that clearly didn't work with voters. But I don't know if this is going to work. This seems so tired, and it seems like Democrats, the base is very different from independents. The base wants to talk about how terrible Donald Trump is at every turn. We know that. You guys love that. I was at CNN for the entirety of his first term. Like, I get it. That's what you want to do, but that is not necessarily the message for everyone else. And if she's not giving a message other than that, what evidence do we have that that works?
Yeah, I mean, I started to wonder because, we can get so worked up over the debate performance and think that this thing is going to stick or it's going to last. And then I started to think about over the summer when, and in the past year, the various indictments, the raid at Mar-a-Lago, and this is it. He's done. He's finished. He was found guilty. None of that stuck for very understandable reasons. And I do wonder at this point, with some 55 or whatever, 50 some odd days left before Election Day, although, as we mentioned, that voting is already taking place in some states, if that debate performance is going to stick versus when, by the time people go to the polls, are they going to be thinking that, what is my economic situation right now? Prices overall are up 19%, and the world is on fire. I mean, if that's on people's minds, unemployment, inflation, what have you, the border, these stories, then Trump may end up being fine.
Well, I think my assessment is probably less that he damaged himself, because we kind of understand Donald Trump's floor, right?
Right. The idea that this was the worst ever. No, we've seen worse.
It actually wasn't worse than his 2020 outing.
Yeah.
We understand Donald Trump's floor. So my thought is maybe less than damaging himself, he missed a very large opportunity.
Huge opportunity to put it away.
Absolutely. To put this away in a pretty neat and tidy way. And he did not do that because she basically seemed plausible. Here's the other thing I was thinking about is that she has to pass this plausibility bar of looking presidential, of looking like somebody who could be different from the Biden administration, who could be commander-in-chief. Despite the fact, and I agree with them on many of the points, that he can have bad character and bad intentions and seem unfit for the presidency. Despite all that, he's passed the plausibility bar. You know why? Because he was actually president.
Because he's been president.
He's been president.
Yeah.
The Rubicon hath been crossed.
Right.
Okay?
So the threats of, you wait. This is what they keep on. saying, which is, okay, obviously you mentioned how they had to dial back the threat to democracy
Right.
because they didn't think it's working. Now some people in the camp sort of probably think it's working, so they're going to push that again. But one of the things that keeps on popping up from time to time is this line that this election could be the last.
Mm-hmm.
You ever hear that one?
Yeah.
So.
No.
But again, he was his own worst enemy because all these opportunities to go after her. This is about her. She is, until he
Yes.
mentions in his closing statement, if you will, that she's been in power now for 3.5, almost 4 years. Why doesn't she do
He really
it
nailed
now?
that. He really nailed that closing
Yes,
statement
the
2
closing.
hours in.
But when he starts talking about the various electors and the lawsuits and the reason why he didn't have standing,
Oh,
people
very
don't want,
bad.
People
don't
want
like
to hear
that.
about 2020.
The thing that struck me about her performance here and her performance in her one interview she's done
Mm-hmm.
is that although she was fine and largely forgettable, I would say better in the debate than in the interview.
Yeah.
Looked a little more lively.
Oh, much better.
Yeah.
Oh.
They were empty.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. And a lot of times that's okay with voters, but I'm not sure in a 8-week election if it's okay with voters for you to not bring anything.
Right. So, the previous New York Times Siena poll prior to the debate indicated that a third of voters still want to know more about Kamala, as you were just saying.
Right.
And so they come out with this policy page, which is weak sauce, as my brother-in-law Bill Dwyer would say.
True.
And then she goes out on the debate stage and does not answer questions. And now they have plans on maybe not doing another debate, let alone an interview, certainly not a press conference or a town hall. I don't think that they have succeeded in giving those voters, the third who want to know more.
That's the thing. And if that's what they're demanding and they're never getting it, I understand why they say, well, I don't like Trump.
Right.
But my life was better then.
Right.
You have not given me any information about how you would be different from Biden.
Right.
She didn't walk away from him at all, except for saying, I'm not Joe Biden.
Right. And that was also very interesting, revelatory, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second. But the other thing is you had mentioned the focus groups
Right.
and these independents, and they have concerns. And it's very interesting because, they do go out of their way, I think, to find quote unquote normal people, certainly outside the Beltway. And these were some focus groups on CNN.
Yeah.
And the observation is very interesting.
And independent voters see things differently than people who are deeply engaged watching this every day, who are a partisan or an ideologue. They just watch these things differently. And I think certainly very differently. You and I are closer to regular voters than mainstream media folks.
Yeah.
And I saw it differently than independent voters.
I talk to regular voters.
Yeah.
Meaning my friends.
It's more than a lot of reporters do.
Right.
Okay. I do want to play, this is also Jake Tapper's show, but he had James Clyburn on.
Oh, yeah.
Who suggests
the congressman
a strategy for Kamala Harris and whether she should do interviews and such.
Because, if you go on these one-on-ones, sometimes you drill down into a question until there's a word that's uttered that can be used in a negative way. I just would like to see her out among the people, interacting with them in a town hall type setting.
So just don't do one-on-one interviews because you'll mess up.
Yes, that's
his.
Right. Yeah, your
that's his advice.
Your views, opinions, what you believe, and of course, her beliefs her values have not changed.
Her values have not changed.
May be used against her.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But I would say, you know what, but a real, not a scripted town hall, not one where we find out that they get the questions ahead of time or something like that, but rather just walk into it. Boy, I would love to see that. That will never happen.
No, this would be very scripted.
If you go to YouTube, you can watch some of these Nixon forums with Richard Nixon and what would be considered today a town hall. And he's taken all sorts of questions about Cambodia, and he's defending the bombing, and he's just full on. And but he's so good at it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, we don't have that.
Yeah, no, we certainly don't at this moment. Did you see, you remember the line from the debate where Trump says, well, we can play the clip.
And policies like they have, I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it.
So he says she's stealing all his ideas. I might as well give you a MAGA hat. Well, I don't know if Trump is manifesting things, but on the anniversary of 9/11 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, Joe Biden put on a Trump hat while meeting with voters in Shanksville.
I saw this on Twitter, X, and I dismissed the video because I thought it was AI. I looked at the hat, looks weird in the video, and he puts it on. But maybe it's just the way he puts on the hat now, Joe, the motion of putting on hat. Mm-hmm. I thought, no, this is not. So I'm just going to dismiss it. And then we started the show here. And before you mentioned this thing, I'm like, oh, my goodness, it happened. Is it because there were a mix of Americans because both Trump and Biden were there at different times at Shanksville? And so then one managed to get in?
Right.
Because there's no way for optics, the advanced work that goes into having a president there, that he would be put in that position, right?
Well, the White House had to release a statement on this.
Oh.
Andrew Bates says, as a gesture, he gave a hat to a Trump supporter who then said in the same spirit, POTUS should put on his Trump cap. Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter. So it was just a gesture of bipartisanship.
Oh, it was an exchange.
Okay. I found a more full video of this, and it does seem like he's joking along with this crowd. Clearly, some of them are Republicans. They're giving him a little bit of a hard time.
Okay.
So I guess it's just a table of normal voters. Look, take the hat, look at the hat, pass it off to a staffer. Under no circumstances should you put the hat on your head. That is not what you should. Much like the Desitin, do not put that on your head because it is going to take days and perhaps weeks for this memory to be gone.
Yeah. You never know. The Trump campaign might possibly use this
in
videos.
Also, another question.
Yeah.
Is he in his DGAF era and is mad at Kamala for being on stage going, I'm not Joe Biden, I'm not Joe Biden, I'm not Joe Biden. And he's like, you know what? Maybe I'm MAGA.
Well, that's my question to Mary Catherine, which is, was he doing it to sort of weirdly troll, or do you think he wasn't quite sure what was happening at that time and it just happened?
I think it's quite possible he didn't know quite what was happening. Much like the rest of his job. I mean, they did seem to be sort of goofing around. Yeah. But I would say that he was more the butt of the joke than the guy making jokes in that moment.
Well, I'll give him some props for putting it on. Being a good sport, I guess.
No, don't give him props. It's the Desitin of a campaign. You don't do that. You do not put the opposing team's very loudly colored hat on your head. Yeah. Now, one could argue that in Pennsylvania it might, or anywhere in America, it might count against you to have Biden as a backer. So Trump may have to distance himself.
But here's, I mean, it's a real question about after, and we were just talking about this at the end of the debate, and Kamala has her moment, which is, I'm not Joe Biden, and I'm definitely not Donald Trump. Okay, well, you know the latter, but the first part is very interesting because you're part of this administration. You're the vice president, and vice presidents, presidents, I know those relationships historically can be very fraught. There's a lot of tension in there, even with Bush and Reagan, obviously, Clinton and Gore, obviously, especially after Gore lost. But do you think that there are some lingering hard feelings there with Biden as a result? And I mean, it's weird. I mean, the White House is very weird right now. And obviously her campaign is weird because it has a mixture of the leftover Biden people who are technically in charge.
Right.
But in addition, you now have the Obama people who are there as well. That they can't be happy with that.
No, it's got to be very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Stephanie Cutter, David Plouffe for the Obama team. But then you still have
Stephanie Cutter, blast from the past.
Yes. And then Jen O'Malley Dillon. And the Biden people at the same time, what's happening?
I mean, it's got to be very uncomfortable, almost as uncomfortable as watching Kamala Harris speak on a stage. Hey. But yeah, this is where everybody's headed. This is the state of the game coming out of the debate. We will see in polling if she has a little bit of a boost. Again, I think she was sort of plausible. Independent voters may need more than that. and independent voters may have seen Trump's performance as more positive than I did.
Maybe.
I still say, please practice. Please practice.
Well, he took questions from the press afterwards, and it was back to old Trump, and she was gone.
He did, but look, there's something, as we know, there's something to be said for being over-caffeinated and underprepared and going out there and doing your thing and being loose, right? Yeah. There's something to be said for that because you want to be yourself when you're on stage. This is a presidential debate.
Yeah.
Murderboard yourself. Do the thing. Get asked a bunch of hard questions. Play the part. Do the thing. Yeah. Especially if you think that the country's on the line, which is what they tell people all the time. Right. Ask for better from this guy if you're a big fan. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what's going on.
All right.
Can I? This is sort of politics adjacent, but in my favorite way. So we talked about the Taylor Swift endorsement.
Yes.
We talked about Taylor Swift's friendship with Brittany Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And Brittany Mahomes is Trump friendly, at least enough to like some of his social media stuff. Patrick Mahomes said when asked about politics, because of course, everyone must assume that Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes, both WAGs, wives and girlfriends of professional athletes, that's what they're called.
Ooh.
Not that Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes don't have their own separate personalities and dreams and careers. That because they're both WAGs, everybody's like, oh, the drama. They're not going to be able to be friends anymore. And I truly hope that's not the case. I don't think it's the case. And part of that is because of the take of someone like Patrick Mahomes, who says, whenever I'm hanging out with whoever, I'm not thinking about their political views. I'm thinking about people and how they treat other people.
Right. Which, by the way, not long ago would probably be regarded as completely a mundane statement.
Yes, that would be the normal thing to say, but we have gotten to a state where
you have to know.
Yeah, spurning your friends is important.
Who are you voting for?
Yeah.
You know, and otherwise I can't talk to you. And it's leading what our friend Sonny Bunch used to call, and of course, and you've mentioned this as well, the politicized life, where everything is geared towards, who's supporting what different. I can't eat this. I can't drink this. I can't talk to you. I can't talk. I can only talk with him or whatever. And it's not healthy.
Yeah. Jameel Hill, who used to be an ESPN personality and now writes for The Atlantic and is just generally kind of obnoxious on politics. She put up a meme suggesting that Brittany Mahomes would be very mad that Taylor Swift had endorsed Kamala Harris. First of all, if there's in the statistics, if there's one figure, a liberal or a conservative, leaving the friendship, it's not the conservative.
No. We're used to this. We deal with this all the time.
Liberals in every study are less likely to have cross-partisan friendships, more likely to abandon those connections than conservatives are. That's real stuff.
It's the same thing with the reaction, for example, with the Supreme Court, and because they're not used to, like, oh my gosh, and Kamala Harris brings it up in the debate about the right-wing justices, and
let's throw away this whole Supreme Court thing.
And we need to term limit them or whatever because they're not used to bad decisions. Where conservatives have been getting this for a long time.
Many bad decisions.
Yeah, and we just deal with it. And the same thing with movies and actors whose performances are amazing, even though we might find their personal politics to be reprehensible. But yet, there's a lot of movies I enjoy with Sean Penn. I mean, that's terrible, but whatever,
Also, once in a blue moon, I will watch a movie that has libertarian or conservative values in the story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And not blatantly, I don't want to be hit over the head with this.
No.
For conservative values.
That's how it doesn't work.
Any more than I'm hit over the head with liberal ones all the time. Right. But I watched, for instance, Tetris was a good example. The movie Tetris is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the plan of a sort of down on his luck technologist who finds out about this game and goes to the Soviet Union to try to get the rights to distribute Tetris.
Yes, because it was a Russian game.
Yes.
I even had to say it.
And it's so clear.
It's a Russian game. Yes.
Russian game.
The opening song.
Anyway, you get it. So
wow, that was impressive.
So He goes to the USSR to try to get rights to this, and it's so clear about the repression and the lack of opportunity and the sadness that brings to families who can't accomplish goals, who don't have rights to their ideas and their hard work. And it highlights the beauty of capitalism, where you can bring this wonderful product to a bunch of people who will enjoy it, as I did as a child. Yeah. And I texted Sunny Bunch, our friend who is a movie reviewer, and said, "Is this what it's like to be a liberal watching movies 99% of the time?" And he was like, "Yes, it's fun, isn't it? Yeah. I don't require it, but it is fun." Yeah. I'm going to read the headlines about Patrick Mahomes real quick. This is a Fox News headline. Patrick Mahomes commends wife's influence after Trump's praise in Taylor Swift's Harris endorsement. USA Today. Patrick Mahomes brushes off comments made about his wife, Brittany, by Donald Trump. The Hill. Patrick Mahomes staying out of election. That's fine, Patrick. We're good.
It was.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Chiefs QB Patrick Mahomes says he will not endorse anybody for president. In case you guys were.
People want to know. But I mean, think about the enormous pressure from media and elsewhere on Taylor Swift to give the endorsement, which finally did, and everybody could rejoice about it. But there was like, she has to take a stand. She's got to take a position.
Well, I stuck up for her.
Where's your ribbon?
I stuck up for her. Yes. Where's the ribbon?
Yeah.
I stuck up for her for many years because liberals said she wasn't political enough. And at the moment that she decided to be political, I didn't think she was going to agree with me. But she no doubt has family members and friends from her rural Pennsylvania and central Tennessee homes who are not uniformly liberal.
Right.
The Kansas City Chiefs are a Midwestern football team. Football team, first of all, includes many right-leaning fans. A Midwestern football team includes even more right-leaning fans. And your teammates are a whole spectrum of Christians from rural communities, from the Black community that might be more socially conservative than a lot of liberals. That's the wonderful thing about football, actually.
It's just
the locker room is much more diverse politically, I would imagine, than the New York Times.
Right. Exactly. I want to thank you because on this show I get to give these interesting acronyms, and I've asked you about DGAF before. I forget what it stands for. You'll tell me after.
No, I can say it now. I'll censor it. Don't give a.
Oh, okay. Yes. And then you mentioned WAGs. That's a great one. It brought to mind one of my favorite drinking toasts, which is here's to our wives and girlfriends. May they never meet. Okay. Did we have time for Andrew Cuomo? Did you want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah. We should play a clip of him. Yeah. Just to give you guys the rundown on this. Cuomo was on the Hill September 10th, having to answer for his nursing home requirements and dumping a bunch of elderly COVID positive patients into nursing homes, where then, of course, a lot of people died because it was the most at-risk group. Now, disaster. Cuomo, in the aftermath of that, was, of course, lauded by media, by public health, as like one of the smart people in the room.
Remember, he won an international Emmy.
Oh yes, for his press conferences.
Yeah, for the press conferences, because they made America feel good.
What a load of crap. Anyway, he was on the Hill getting grilled a bit, and I just enjoyed this clip from Representative Rich McCormick, who was an ER doctor during COVID, so he knows of what he speaks. And here he is making Cuomo answer.
My question was, did you ever speak with anyone, you, Governor Cuomo, did you ever speak with anyone at CMS or CDC about the directive beforehand? You, Governor Cuomo.
You asked that question, and I answered the question, and I said no.
Did you or not?
I said no. I answered the question.
Okay, thank you. Not even after, correct?
I said yes, and they never called me after. You would think if they had a problem with the directive, they would have called. If it was so outrageous,
you didn't even call to. You didn't even call to ensure that you were what you were declaring was accurate. Yes or no?
I don't know if the Department of Health.
Did you, Governor Cuomo? Right now, I'm talking to you, Governor Cuomo. Did you even attempt to ensure that what you were declaring was accurate? I'm asking you.
Yes,
I don't want to hear about anyone else.
Okay. Department of Health issued 400 advisories, several per day. I did not speak
Thank
to
you.
CMS about 400 advisors.
Thank you. In fact, no one we interviewed said they consulted with them to ensure the applicable science was being followed.
Wow.
What a rat.
Yeah.
Like, gross.
Well, no, I mean, there's
He doesn't even make a feint
no
toward empathy for
you
these
you cannot ever apologize. This is our general culture across the board now,
Like,
right?
even if you
I'd
don't
love to have somebody with some. I mean, this is very good. I mean, accountability is so important, but the idea that any of these people are going to say exactly what this guy says they should say, which is, "I'm sorry, you know what, we failed you," or "We didn't," you know what I mean? That's on me, is just not fathomable.
No, it's to just turn, even if you don't say sorry exactly, to just note it.
Right.
Note the loss of people. Right. He, by the way, keeps arguing, it's so weaselly. He keeps arguing that, it was an advisory, but like you didn't have to follow it. Oh, come on.
And don't forget, they underreported those deaths in the nursing home. At some point, they were off by, it was like 12,000, and this is sometime in 2021, but it was, they said 8,000, but in fact it was 12,000. So, I mean, there was a lot of damage control that was going on at that time. And again, listening to him, having been on that World War II trip over the summer now, which seems like a long time ago, but learning a lot about Eisenhower.
Mm-hmm.
And, right before D-Day, he had written the alternative letter if D-Day failed.
Right.
And you could see where he scribbled out in his handwritten letter, because he went through numerous drafts and rewrites, and you could scribble out. And the final thing he wrote on that one was that saying that it was my fault entirely, solely my fault. Whereas the initial draft was about, passive voice.
Those days are gone.
Those days are
gone. This reminded me, that callous statement from former Governor Cuomo reminded me of another callous statement that I want to cover real quick before we head out. This is a Fox News story. On the anniversary of 9/11, White House National Security Council Communications Advisor John Kirby, who I generally like and think is one of the better members of this administration, dismissed the concerns of military veterans critical of the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, writing in response to a Fox News digital press inquiry that there was no use weighing in on the veterans' views. Obviously no use in responding. A handful of vets, indeed, and all of one stripe, Kirby said, in a reply-all email chain Wednesday afternoon that appeared to be intended for White House staffers, but which also included Fox News Digital. Fox News Digital has reached out to the White House earlier Wednesday afternoon regarding critical comments from 4 veterans, including Representative Corey Mills, who blasted Kirby for his Monday press conference that they said provided cover for the Biden administration's 2021 withdrawal. Look, 9 families of 13 family members lost at Abbey Gate in the withdrawal from Afghanistan have spoken out specifically against Biden and Harris and their thoughtlessness about those victims. Maybe you should respond.
Yeah.
Maybe you should treat those people's concerns and Corey Mills's concerns with respect. He says they're all of one political leaning.
Wow. Yeah.
So we don't need to worry about them. And that is really disrespectful. So instead of, I hate to leave you with such a bummer. So instead I'll leave you with this.
Okay. Spasiba. I do have a call out, which is to a listener and fan, Michael Josen, who loves the show and asks, why do we all on the right say DEI when in fact we should be saying it's diversity, inclusion, equity. Therefore, it would be DIE. You know what? That's right up there with my mother-in-law who keeps scolding me for saying Democratic Party versus Democrat because there's nothing democratic about it.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, that wraps up this episode of Getting Hammered. Remember, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. And you can follow me on Twitter at Victorina Mattis.
I'm at MK Hammer on Twitter, at MK Hammer Time on Instagram. You can find the show at Getting Hammered Podcast on YouTube and Instagram. Thanks for getting hammered responsibly. Das Vidanya.